Yeah, it should be live now. So I thought today I would just do kind of a simple stream. And I'm streaming a lot earlier than normal as well, which is kind of surprising for me. But, yeah, gonna be doing a Mega Man guide. So, if you don't know, I do main this character, and I made a guide before I made this character, because I made a guide for every character, except for the Mii's, because I still haven't gotten around to doing that. But, yeah, for Mega Man, I do main him, although my playstyle is a bit different than most other Mega Men. And you'll see what I mean as the guide goes. So if you're looking for a more traditional Mega Man, I guess, then this one's, or like this guide's not really for you. This guide's kind of just based off of the way that I've found works the best for me as playing Mega Man, as I play Mega Man, for fun. So, yeah. So let's go ahead and get in. Although I do play competitively with Mega Man, like, it's still a character that I have fun with. I'd rather play him with a fun playstyle than with like something a bit more traditional, I guess, or common might be a better word than traditional. But yeah, so for Mega Man, your movement speed's kind of average and stuff, like your airspeed. All of this is just kind of normal, so nothing too special about it, at least. So that means that you can kind of remain stationary or aggressive. It doesn't really matter. It's kind of dependent on the matchup as well. Like with some matchups, I do play a bit more traditional Mega Man, where you just kind of spam pellets and camp out, you know, throw projectiles from across the stage, all of this kind of stuff. But for a character like Captain Falcon, I would play with my normal playstyle, which kind of go over here. So sorry about the frame rate drops if they do happen like that. I don't really know why they're happening. Now, they should be good Wi-Fi wise, but maybe it's just a random one. But yeah, I guess let's go ahead and get into this. So for Mega Man, I use pretty much his entire moveset, although I really don't use pellets that often, and that's something that a lot of people are going to find pretty surprising. Like, I do use pellets here and there, like I use it for jabs most of the time if I do use pellets, but a lot of the time I don't really use pellets as I play a bit more of an aggressive Mega Man, I would say, and I'm usually at least like about here to my opponent, kind of in this mid-range area. Most of the time I will be trying to be next to them, doing more of his melee attacks, but there are times where I do space out, and it's also matchup dependent. Like if it's against a sword character, for example, I might want to try to space myself a bit away from the Falcon, or not the Falcon, but the sword character. But with someone like Captain Falcon, as I said earlier, I would play a bit more towards my playstyle. So yeah, pellets aren't really something that I use commonly, although they are useful. I will say that, like I use them for jabs a lot just to get in some damage if I land right next to someone like that. Has a strong hit on the front as well, so it can send back at higher percents, like around like 30-40%. It'll start to kind of knock opponents away from you a bit more. So you might use that to kind of space yourself. And same thing with like the neutral air, though the neutral air works a bit better at knocking people away than something like the jab. And forward tilt doesn't really knock opponents away at all if you do something like this, but it can be used to cross up opponents like that, and then you can hit them from behind. So that is something that I use a lot. Like the main difference is that the neutral air and jab have this strong hitbox on the front, whereas with the forward tilt, it does not have that, so you can go directly through someone like that and then be able to combo, or whatever you're trying to do. Like most of the combos I do are just like down throw fair, down throw up air, something like that. So yeah, and it doesn't really work at this percent either. Yeah, I just usually do something like that to be able to build up damage. As I said earlier, I do play a bit more of an aggressive Mega Man. But yeah, let me go ahead and turn on all this stuff. I do like to have this on, the guides. But yeah, so now out of those moves, you've got down tilt, up tilt, or that's not up tilt, that's up tilt there. So the rest of Mega Man's tilts. Down tilt is really useful for just kind of moving around on stage with a hitbox, if you want to do that. That's mainly what I use it for. As dash attack is useful in some scenarios, like I use it a lot when approaching if the opponent is in the air, But on the ground, I would say down tilt is definitely a much better option, as it's a bit safer to throw out, even if you don't hit anyone or anything. Kind of just slide around like this, like slide into an opponent and then potentially get like a fair, or get them at the ledge like this, and then maybe be able to ledge pressure them, something like that. Whereas with dash attack is good for catching people in the air, but the main thing is it's really committing to throw out dash attack, because it lasts for a very long time, especially if you get a hit. And if you don't know this, if you hit someone at the ledge with dash attack, the dash attack will drop them out, and they could punish you at the ledge just because the dash attack dropped out earlier than you had intended it to. So you want to make sure that if you do use dash attack when approaching, that you're kind of far away from the ledge, because you don't really want your opponent to escape that and then hit you with something like a Falcon Dive, like that Falcon almost did a few moments ago. But yeah, and then for up tilt is mainly used for shield breaks. So if you do land a side special on your opponent, most of the time they'll just shield it unless they've already parried it or something like that. They could air dodge it, roll it, just do something that has a short burst of invincibility and allows them to not be affected by the move. But if you do land the Crash Bomber on someone and they do shield, you can try to do a shield break setup, which is kind of like this. You stick them, you throw the Metal Blade onto them, and that kind of does shield damage, and then you up tilt, because up tilt does a lot of shield damage, and that will either break their shield, which I've had happen a few times, but most of the time it kind of just doesn't do exactly enough, because your opponent doesn't shield for the entire duration of the Crash Bomber, or something like that. Maybe you mess up on the setup. I've had that happen a lot, because you do have to make sure that you land the Metal Blade, and you also have to make sure that you throw out the up tilt, which I kind of mess up on that a lot and go for something like forward smash. But up tilt, the main issue with that, or with this move, is that it's really committing, kind of like dash attack. So if you do throw out up tilt to break someone's shield, you want to make sure that you hit their shield, because if not, as you can see, like if I don't throw it out, it has a lot of time where I just can't really do anything. Like, I'm holding the shield as soon as I hit the C-stick up, because I do play on tilt stick for Mega Man. And as you can see, like, it just kind of keeps you locked in there for a while. Whereas with something like down tilt, it's much faster in comparison, as you can see. Even though, like, whenever it's not active, that's mostly because it has a hitbox active at the time, like whenever you're actually sliding. So it has a lot less cooldown than something like up tilt, which the hitbox is very quick, and then it kind of disappears, and you're still left in the air and things like that. But yeah, so that pretty much covers the tilts. So now into the smash attack. So I don't really use down smash enough, in my opinion, although it is a very useful move if you want to do something that's pretty powerful and quick and your opponent's right next to you. You can do a down smash. As down smash is, as I said, powerful and quick, although the main issue with it is that it has a lot of lag. So if you do throw this move out, there's a large window for you to be punished afterwards if you do miss it, or if it gets shielded, something like that, or if your opponent parries it as well. Then it won't end that great for you, because it will have a bit more in lag, which will allow them to get pretty good punish off of that. It's kind of the same thing with up smash as well, though up smash is a bit faster than down smash, and it's also active for a bit longer as well. But another good thing about down smash is that it's just one hitbox rather than like multiple hitboxes. As you can see there, it's just one on the combo, just 21.8%, so you can just run up down smash and you don't have to worry about your opponent falling out. Where I've had with up smash, I've actually had opponents fall out of this a lot. It's not something that happens like once every match, but like I would say 1 in 5 or 6 matches it will happen at least once. So I've had it happen a lot, although I haven't heard a lot of people talking about it. So thought I would just say that. But up smash, you can perform it out of shield. It works if your opponent's pretty close to you, and it does a decent amount of damage and knockback. Really useful if your opponent's trying to like land on you. I use up smash in a lot of scenarios where with a normal character, or not a normal character, but a character that's not Mega Man, like Lucina, for example. I would use up tilt, but for Mega Man, I would use up smash instead there. where up tilt does a bit more damage, and knockback and all of this stuff, you have to be right next to your opponent and it's really committing. Whereas up smash is still committing. It's not like something like neutral B where it has no in lag at all. It still has lag, but it's not going to be as laggy as something like up tilt. And then for forward smash, I recommend spacing out this move as much as possible. The move does have range, so definitely abuse it, as you can hit people from pretty far away with a decent amount of damage, even if you don't charge it up all the way fully. It does less damage than the other smash attacks and knockback, but I mainly use this move for edge guarding, or if I'm trying to catch someone do a roll in neutral, or like a spot dodge, then I'll charge a forward smash, as it is very fast to charge as well. Like as you can see, just the quick charge there did about 14% as well. So it's a pretty powerful move. But as I said earlier, the main use that I have of this move is in edge guarding. Something like that, if your opponent recovers high or mid, you can punish him with a forward smash. Although, that's not the only edge guard option that Mega Man has, so I'd recommend not spamming it, which is something that I kind of find myself doing a lot, is whenever I see an opponent off stage, 90% of the time I will charge a charge shot in their direction, and that's just not something that you should do, because if your opponent notices that you're charge shotting pretty much every time that they go off stage, then they will be able to read that and just recover low every time, and then you won't be able to get any edge guards on them. You have to kill them in neutral, unless you mix up for the kill. But yeah, Mega Man also has, in edge guarding, he has down air and back air, I would say, although that was fair. Back air, which is this move here. Fair is somewhat useful for edge guarding, but the main issue that I have with it is that you can't really act out of it as quickly as something like back air. Down air is much slower, but it's a hitbox that goes downward, and it goes downward very far. So you can just use it to kind of hit people that are like King K. Rool, where they have a hitbox above their head as they're recovering. So you can use that on them pretty effectively. Another edge guard tool that I don't really utilize enough, and I don't see a lot of people utilize it, is that Crash Bomber can be stuck to the stage. And that's useful for two things. It's useful for recovering, and that's also useful for stopping other people from recovering. So if you stick it like right here, then if someone's trying to recover underneath the ledge, you can kind of set up a trap for them if they have a slow enough recovery. Like you can set something there, and then you can have a down air if they're trying to recover from a bit further away at the ledge, so they avoid the Crash Bomber. But most of the time you won't be able to react to it like that, so you either have to Crash Bomber or you have to down air them, or you can also throw a Metal Blade down like that, but most of the time I will down air if I'm trying to do something like that. So the advantage of using Crash Bomber to recover is if you stick it right on the ledge, like right where you grab the ledge. So like, let me try to land it here. And a second ago, there you go. So if you stick it about right there, even a bit lower, its hitbox reaches a bit above the ledge, so you should be able to hit opponents that are trying to like run off the ledge and then jump at the last possible second, or if they're standing at the ledge like this, then you will be able to hit them, even if it misses. Because it's kind of got, the way that it works whenever it's connected to the ground is it's proximity based, so if your opponent is in a certain range, it will blow up on its own, and you'll be able to hit them. And if they're at a high enough percent, they'll kind of bounce up pretty far, so you should be able to make it back to stage safely. You can also use this to help yourself recover. If you want to get a second neutral, or not neutral B, but up special like that, then you can kind of blow yourself up with it, although you have to make sure that you have an up special to jump into it in the first place, so you can't like up special and then slide special and then hope that you run into the Crash Bomber, because you'll just fall too quickly, as Mega Man is a fast faller. Which I'll get more into fast falling and stuff like that in Disadvantage. But yeah, so that's one option that you have there for edge guarding, as well as like forward smash and down air. Other aerials are back air, as I said earlier, which has a lot of good use in neutral. Forward air has good use in neutral. Then you have neutral air, which I already covered, and up air. So I mostly use up air as a ledge mix-up, so if every time that I forward smash someone makes it back to stage, then most of the time I will do a short hop up air or an up smash to try to hit them, rather than a down smash, as up smash is less committing, and then up air I'll use if people keep reading the up smash and then start jumping above me, or if I just feel like they're going to jump in general off the ledge, then I'll throw out an up air because it will most of the time hit them as it kind of starts towards Mega Man's head slowly and then gets faster as it goes up. So it has a long time, or it's like a pretty long activation time for the hitbox that you have above your head to cover you. It's kind of like down air except it goes upward, I guess, and it's a bit slower and larger, so it's much more useful for trapping opponents. And another useful thing with up air is the fact that you can do like falling up air into another up air. Although it works a bit inconsistently, it is possible to do. And I've had it happen before where you could do like a falling up air into another up air into like an upbeat up air or something like that, and just carry someone off the top. So if your opponent's at like 90 or a bit lower percents if they're lighter, then if you hit them with an up air high enough, like a bit above the top floor of Battlefield, like the top platform, if you hit them a bit above that, then it will either kill them or put them in the blast zone where they can see themselves on the magnifying glass thing that's at the corners of the blast zones. So, yeah. Up air is really useful for mix-ups and things like that. Forward air, I use it a lot for grabs, although at lower percents, and by lower percents I mean like around 0 to 20%, somewhere around there. If you do something like that, you can even get a second up, or not a second up air, but a second forward air out of it. Yeah, you can just do a landing forward air into a grab, or a dash grab, and then get a second forward air or a back throw out of it. Like a down throw back air, you can do any sort of throw out of it, and it will work fine. But down air is going to be the most common one that I use, because it's the easiest one to combo out of. Although, you also have like up air and forward throw, or not forward, or not up air, but up throw and forward throw and back throw. But most of the time, if I do get a grab, I will do a down throw directly afterwards, unless my opponent's at a high percent where combos aren't really going to work anymore, and then I'll just start going for forward or back throws. Don't usually use up throw a lot, as it has a bit of lag on it, so you can't really do much out of it unless your opponent just doesn't react to anything like the CPU, and then you can catch them with an up air. But most of the time they'll just like air dodge or something because they think that you're going to up air, and maybe you can get like a back air out of that. But back air is the most important aerial, I would say, outside of like neutral air, I guess. But for the way that I play Mega Man, it would be back air. If you get the second hit of back air only, then, or even sometimes like the third hit, or I guess, yeah, just any hit at a low enough percent, it will kind of combo into itself. It's not a true combo, but if your opponent's not holding down the shield or trying to buffer out anything, then you will get at least one hit. And if they are holding down shield, then you can cross them up with back air across their shield and possibly avoid punish, unless it's someone like Falcon who has a up B out of shield that can wrap around, or if they have an up smash that covers both sides of them. As you won't be traveling very far out of the back air. As you can see, the second hit of back air actually pushes opponents down a bit, so it's kind of useful for catching someone at the ledge like that, and then you can potentially get a downer on them from it. But another good thing about back air is that it has a lot of knockback, so it's really useful for edge guarding if you want to go out kind of far. And don't want to do something like down air where you have a bit more landing lag. With back air, it has very little lag, even in like the air, because moves that you perform in the air have a bit of lag. Back air doesn't really offer, or it doesn't have that much lag. Neither does neutral air, but back air is probably like the second fastest, I would say. But then you also have like forward air as well, that's pretty quick. Forward air kind of does the same thing as back air, although it has less knockback and it's a bit less safe to throw out than back air, so I'd recommend going for back air. Like back air is just kind of a better version of forward air, but the good thing about forward air is you can use it to get grabs. It's pretty much the only advantage that it has over back air, and I guess you can face your opponent while doing it. But now into specials, so you have Metal Blade. Metal Blade's something that I pretty much always have in my hand rather than not have it, or like have the version of Metal Blade that's not in your hand, because it kind of works differently depending on which version you have. Like with this version, I can throw it behind me like that. Although, if I have it in my hand, then I have to throw it directly in front of me like that. can't really turn around the same way I can with like that. Or you can see like you can kind of throw it behind you like that, or thought you could be reverse it, but maybe I'm just misinputting it. Oh yeah, you can, because that would be reversed. But yeah, Metal Blade has a lot of different directions. You have the diagonals as well as just directly upwards. So you have a lot of different directions you can cover. You can even do diagonals downward, although you can't really do them with that version of Metal Blade. There we go, so that's a diagonal downward there. And then I don't know if you can actually do it that way. I guess I haven't tested it enough to be able to see that, but you can throw it diagonally in front of you at least, so you can hit opponents that way. Although, since I've grabbed Metal Blade, I can't throw it in diagonal. So that's kind of one of the advantages of having Metal Blade in your hand, is that you can't throw it. But the best thing about having Metal Blade in your hand is that you can Z-drop it into a combo. So just a simple, like, you know, 2-hit combo, which one of the hits is the Metal Blade, and then the other hit is just an aerial or whatever you choose to do afterwards. Like, you can do the Metal Blade into an up tilt, for example, and get a bit more damage than you would if you just did it into, like, an aerial. So, keep messing that up. So let me just try it once more. As you can see there, it does about 20% instead of, you know, just getting a regular up tilt that does 15, which still isn't bad. Or I didn't sweet spot it, which is why it did a bit less damage than if I would have sweet spotted it out of that. But yeah, if you get the sweet spot, it does 28.6 instead. So I use Z-drop Metal Blade a lot. I also use it to edge guard off stage a bit, as I can still perform an aerial afterwards. So you can do something like that and then fast fall back to the ground. And you should still have enough time to either do slide special or down air to edge guard, as well as like back air, forward air, if your opponent starts recovering a bit further away. But yeah, so that's Metal Blade, and then you have the slide special, which is Crash Bomber, kind of talked about before. Mainly just use it for shield break setups and recovering. If I just throw it out like this most of the time, it's just because I'm trying to do a move that's not Metal Blade whilst camping. Like, my view on camping as Mega Man is I personally don't really like to play against him, so I don't do it much. But in matchups like against Lucina or Roy, where you can't really get close to your opponent, and you kind of have to stay away, because if you get too close then you could get comboed, because Mega Man's fast faller, so that means you're going to get comboed a lot, and you also don't have enough melee range to be able to compete with their swords, then that's when I start spacing. Or if I'm at a very high percent, like 150, then I'll start spacing as well. But yeah, those are pretty much the only times I do that. But if you see me throw out Crash Bomber a lot on stage, then that just means that I'm trying to space rather than approach, because I don't really throw out Crash Bomber when I'm right next to someone due to them being able to stick it back to me, or being able to get me in the blast radius, or it's just kind of a laggy option to throw right in front of someone. Like with Metal Blade, you can kind of get a hit afterwards, not true or anything, but it's not like slide special where you're kind of just open for a bit longer, and someone can just like air dodge it or something and then just approach you and get a free combo off of you or something like that. And then you have probably the most useful, if not the second most useful, because I can see Metal Blade being a bit more useful, our special, which is going to be Leaf Shield. So whenever I actually made the original Mega Man guide, I had no idea how to get the extended Leaf Shield. So like I saw one comment on the video that said you get the extended Leaf Shield by holding down the special button, which I didn't, or I knew at the time that I saw that comment, but whenever I created the Mega Man guide, I had no idea that this was a thing. So, but yeah, now it's something that I've learned. It's something I use a lot. I use it when landing. I use it in neutral if I'm right next to someone and I don't know what option they're going to throw out and I just want to get in a few hits. But most of the time I use it when landing. At higher percents, it can kind of force an opponent to be a bit above you. Let me just try to show that here. So, like 50 maybe. No, not 50. It'd be like something 70, 80%, maybe. Like, or I guess it only really works if they're in the air, so let me just show that. So as you can see, they'll kind of like float above you for a second, and if you can get them caught in that, then you can get a follow-up out of the leaf shield. But, yeah, leaf shield is something that is mix-up, or it's like, you can mix it up, I guess. I was going to say mix-upable, but I don't think that's an actual word, so, you can mix it up with the timings and everything. If you just press down B, it stays out for a certain amount of time, and then you can mess with that timing, or if you hold down B for a certain amount of time, you can mess with it, or if you can hold down the B button for the entire duration. I would strongly recommend mixing it up, because if you do the same type of leaf shield over and over again, or even the same method of hitting the leaf shield, like if you always jump right next to someone and then leaf shield, then people are going to start figuring that out. And it has a bit of startup as well, so make sure that if you do something like that, then you at least start it while you're in the air rather than start it on the ground, as it does have a bit of time where you can be hit. Leaf shield does not block all projectiles. I've seen a lot of projectiles kind of just go through some of the leaves as well, but it will kind of trade with a lot of projectiles. Another useful thing about Mega Man that I haven't mentioned is that almost all of his projectiles trade with every other projectile in the game, so some projectiles get eaten by lemons or pellets, some projectiles get eaten by the metal blades, some by the crash bomber, and then some by the leaf shield as well. So I would recommend that you learn which projectiles get traded or destroyed by which projectile that Mega Man has if you plan on playing Mega Man, because that can just help you against zoners a lot, or people with projectiles that are giving you trouble. I believe there are some projectiles that it cannot block, but it will be able to block most projectiles, so as long as you keep your distance and are smart about what you're doing, like about what projectile you're using against theirs, then you should be able to avoid a lot of projectile hits, which is something that a lot of other zoners kind of have trouble with, I found. So, yeah, Leaf Shield, it gets a lot of damage and a lot of hits as well. It also hits underneath a ledge, which is something useful. But the main issue I have with it is that if you're dashing like that and you don't catch yourself dashing, then you could run off stage like that and then put yourself into a position where you can't recover. Although I was able to recover there, sometimes I've had it where I've just ran off stage with Leaf Shield online and just not had enough time to react to me falling off the stage. But yeah, if you do end at the ledge and you stop at the ledge, then against someone like Captain Falcon who has to recover very quickly, or else they risk getting hit by aerials and things like that, you can actually use it to edge guard them, or put them into a position where they can be edge guarded pretty easily, as you can catch a lot of their jumps or their up specials, as it does hit underneath the ledge. It can also hit people that are trying to camp the ledge because you're throwing out projectiles and you're just waiting for them to get up. You can throw out a leaf shield and they will be hit by it on the ledge. I know Forward Smash does it on some stages, but it's very inconsistent, and then Down Smash does it as well. Like, from what I found, Forward Smash is really inconsistent. It could be like a specific charge time, not really sure, but if you haven't charged all the way, like, I believe on this version of the Mega Man stage, it would actually hit on the ledge, but I don't think on the actual Mega Man stage, if you play it hazardless, that it hits on the ledge. It's really weird, but yeah, Forward Smash can also be used to hit people on the ledge, I guess is my point there. But now into the counters for Mega Man, in case you're wondering what you should be watching out for, or if you're watching this guide to learn a bit about Mega Man and you're wondering what you can do to fight this character. I would say pretty much any character that can combo semi-decently would be a good pick against Mega Man, as long as they can get in against his projectiles pretty well, like if they're fast, kind of. So, you know, Pikachu can combo really well, and he's probably Mega Man's biggest weakness, I would say, like him or Fox. Fox has a reflector, but his disadvantage state isn't as great as Pikachu's, and he's really exploitable in his recovery to Mega Man's down air, whereas with Pikachu he really doesn't have to worry about recovering against Mega Man, and can combo and free get in through his projectiles and all of that stuff. Fox has a reflector, which is what makes him a bit more threatening than other characters, and he combos as well as Pikachu. stuff like that, but his disadvantage is worse. And then kind of the same thing with Wolf, I would say. Wolf is another character that he's very similar to Fox. Like, he has pretty much the same strengths and weaknesses. Although, he does live a bit longer due to him weighing more than Fox, because Fox is lightweight. He's, I believe, the 5th lightest character in the game, whereas Wolf, he's a bit heavier. And Pikachu's pretty light as well, but Pikachu can at least recover from pretty much anywhere on the stage at any point in time, so it doesn't really matter him getting hit off stage as long as he falls into the blast zone. The Mega Man won't have to worry about him. But yeah, I would say those are probably the main threats. Ness could be a threat as well because he can absorb pellets, so if you play using a lot of pellets or slide specials, then Ness is going to be an issue, although his bat is the only way that can, or the only thing that can reflect the Leaf Shield and the Metal Blade, so he can also absorb the neutral, or the slide smashes, the forward smashes, so that's another issue, is if you're trying to edge guard like Ness or Lucas, they can just absorb your forward smash, or same thing with Fox and Wolf, they can reflect it. But yeah, I would say those characters are probably like the main issues that Mega Man has. He does have a bit of other issues, like characters like Captain Falcon, I would say, could be threatening, although it's a bit more towards even for him, as Falcon can combo Mega Man really well because Mega Man is a fast faller, so pretty much a character that's a fast faller is just a character that falls quickly, but they fall so fast that they don't really have enough time to be able to cover themselves with an aerial. And for Mega Man, he doesn't really have any aerials that can cover everything at once. Like, a lot of characters have a neutral air that have the hitbox pretty much all the way around them, whereas with Mega Man you have to use Leaf Shield, and that doesn't really have a lot of range. And it can also be, or like, you can get hit out of Leaf Shield as well. Whereas with other characters' neutral airs, most of the time if they do get hit by another aerial, it will trade or something like that at least. Whereas with Mega Man, he's pretty much has priority over nothing except like Gordo. And it covers a decent amount of area around him, but it's not as great as other characters' neutral airs, like Ike, for example, who has like a big disjointed hitbox around him being his sword. But yeah, pretty much any option that you throw out to protect yourself in the air, if you get knocked into the air, is going to be a committed option, so you have to pick the right one, or else you'll either die or you'll be put into the same situation and then have to make another choice of like whether to mix that up or to go for the same option. Or sometimes you'll just get knocked off stage and then you have to worry about recovering, and that's a whole other thing that I'm going to start going over now. So for recovering, I kind of already mentioned it, but use slide special pretty much as you can, although I use it there incorrectly, so maybe like jump and then slide special if you still have your jump. Though if you don't have your jump, most of the time you will be hit pretty high into the air if you lose your jump, so you can at least try to land slide special. You want it to be as high on the stage as possible, but not hitting your opponent, so that way it can protect you at the ledge. Although, if you feel like your opponent's going to stand about here where they're out of the range of slide special, then go for something like Metal Blade or Neutral Air, as they're pretty fast and they have range to be able to hit people that are on the stage. So even if your opponent shields it, that still gives you a bit of time to make it back to stage. Whereas if you just do nothing, then they can just approach you for free. If you're facing away from your opponent, then back air is definitely a really good option as well, as back air is very fast on its activation. Like, it comes up very quickly, so your opponent might not have enough time to be able to hit you with a move unless they start performing the move before hitting you. Like, before being near you, I guess is what I mean. But yeah, you have one jump, one up special, and one air dodge to make it back to stage. So you can mix up a lot, but you can't mix up infinitely. It's not like Pikachu or Banjo where you have a lot of recovery options for mix-ups and things like that. But with Mega Man, you at least have a few that other characters don't get. Like, your up special doesn't put you into special fall, so you can use that to B-reverse yourself. Like, if I wanted to land with back air back on stage, I could do something like, and I was facing away from the stage, I could B-reverse myself with the up special, and then back air. Although I actually land on the stage, whereas there I kind of failed at doing that. And then, you also have the fact that you can use projectiles while you're recovering to um, help you land as well. Because if someone's not directly underneath you, then you should be able to hit them with a projectile. If they are, then down air is an option, but it's very slow, and if you don't activate it in time, then you will be hit, or if you activate it a bit early as well, then you could also be punished for that, because it does have a lot of landing lag compared to other aerials. But yeah, I guess that's pretty much it for offstage. I guess on-stage disadvantage, I would recommend not really trying to get out of disadvantage by throwing out projectiles. Because if your opponent reads that projectile, then you're going to die, but also I wouldn't recommend going for forward air. Or back air a lot, like maybe back air, I guess, because back air can be used to catch people jumping, but if someone's just trying to attack you head on, or if they're jumping, then you can use down air, and that can get you out of the ledge, and also hit people that are on the ground. Like, even if they shield it, that still crosses up shields, so you should be able to, like, down tilt back air, like that, where you just throw it a down tilt and then back air directly afterwards to kind of catch people that are approaching you. If you back air a bit higher, like if you don't do a short hop back air, like that, and you go for like a full hop back air instead of a short hop back air, then you can catch people that are jumping. Although, even if you do short hop, you might be able to catch someone on their feet or something like that. So it still has uses. But, yeah, and then for advantage with Mega Man, so you're pretty much going to be in advantage state as long as you have stage control. The way that I play Mega Man, it's kind of advantage if you have your opponent off stage, but pretty much if your opponent is like here, and you're able to be here, then you have all of this stage to run around on. So you're pretty much just in advantage there. That's pretty much how advantage works for every character, but for zoners like Mega Man, it works really well for them, as it allows them to be able to have space to run away from like sword characters or rushdown characters like Captain Falcon that can get through your projectiles and then start hitting you without you being able to retaliate against them. So, yeah, advantage is pretty much handled like with every other character. You just try to keep your opponent in disadvantage while making sure that you don't get, or that you don't reset to neutral or lose advantage and start to be in disadvantage because you got reversal. Which reversal, if you don't know what that is, that's basically whenever you go from edge guarding someone to them edge guarding you. So that would instantly put you into disadvantage. So you just kind of want to avoid that. But yeah, I would say that's pretty much going to be it for the Mega Man guide. If you want to see my Mega Man in action, you can pretty much watch any of my viewer battles, and you should see me playing Mega Man. Maybe not the earlier ones, but at least any of my viewer battles from like the past 3 or 4 months, you should see me playing Mega Man. Like, if you go further back, then it'll be when I just started playing Mega Man competitively, and then if you go to the later videos, then it will be towards me getting better with the character and things like that. So I'm not going to beep out on the CPU kind of like I did with the Banjo Guide, but I will instead link the playlist of the viewer battles in the description in case you want to see me playing Mega Man. But yeah, I'm actually just going to get tons for the thumbnail real fast. So yeah, I guess that's going to be it for now, and I guess I will see everyone in the next stream.